Take two.
Take two. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court on today, the 4th day of June, 2019. I'm David Vogel. I'm the county judge, and pleased to have all of you here today for this, our first meeting in June. If you have a cell phone with you, I ask you to turn it to off or vibrate, just so it doesn't interfere with our microphone system. If you happen to be someone who's speaking today, I'd like, when you come forward, there's a little black device there that doesn't look like a microphone, but that's actually the microphone. Please sort of try to be around it and project, because we have certain audio acoustic problems in here that not everyone the further back in the audience can hear what you say. So right now I'd like to ask everyone who's able to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now our clerk, Sheila Fair, will call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Harrison. Here. Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins. Here. Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logston. Here. Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda? Second. All right, we have two corrections here. First of all, after the Operation Parent video presentation, I'd like to ask that we insert a presentation update on Westport Park. That would come right ahead of county administration. Under community business, we're going to delete the second reading of our fiscal year 1920 budget and push that to the next meeting. We've already had the first reading of the budget, and the state requirement is that we send that to the Department of Local Government, State Finance Officer, for review and approval. Have normally get it back, but they're slow in getting it back. Haven't got it to us yet, so we have to delay the second reading of next year's fiscal budget. Is there anyone else who would like to make a change?
Pool hire.
Pardon?
Pool hire.
All right, we also have, under personnel actions, we have an additional person to hire to work at the pool. Seeing no other additions, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, Sheila Fair will read the minutes from our previous meeting. That's our custom here, so that there's as much transparency and dissemination of fiscal court information as possible.
May 21st, 2019. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Albert Harrison, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda, adding Encompass Professional Services Agreement under contract agreements. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting minutes of May 7th were read aloud and approved unanimously. Public comment. Judge Vogel announced the annual Memorial Day program May 27th, 10 a.m. on the courthouse lawn. Retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant Howard Griffin will be the guest speaker. Judge Vogel attended the 100th annual Louisville Armed Forces Dinner at Churchill Downs, where many veterans living in Oldham County were acknowledged and received awards. Grants presentation. Judge called forward the following grant recipients to receive grant checks approved at the May 7th meeting and to share how the contributions will be used within their organizations. Michelle Culp with Humane Society of Oldham County, $4,500. Margaret Horstman with Oldham County American Red Cross, $5,000. And Laura Brewer with Dare to Care, $5,000. Bid openings for the maintenance building sheathing. The following sealed bid for the maintenance building sheathing project was open and read aloud for the record. Rotor Construction, $49,223 is the base bid. And $1,680 was an additional alternate bid to replace 3 windows. Ambulance Taxing District Budget and Tax Presentation. Ambulance Taxing District Board Member Steve Turover presented information relating to its 2019 ad valorem tax rate and fiscal year 20 budget and responded to questions from the court. County Administrations, Payables. Motion made by Magistrate Hound, seconded by Magistrate Dye to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Community Business, Public Hearing, CRA, and LGEA funds. As required by the Department for Local Government, the floor was open for public comment for the purpose of obtaining citizens' comments regarding the possible uses of county road aid and local government economic assistance funds. There being no public comment, the public hearing was closed. Second reading, public hearing for proposed zoning map amendment, Buckner Point Storage. Assistant Planning and Development Director Amy Alvey presented for second reading, public hearing, proposed ordinance KOC 19-920-516. Zoning map amendment for I-2 Heavy Industrial District to C3 Commercial General Business District on 2.98 acres for property located at the intersection of Kentucky 1817, Cedar Point Road, and West Kentucky 146 in Buckner. Judge Vogel asked those wishing to speak in opposition or in favor of the application to stand and be sworn in. Attorney Cliff Ashburner, representing the applicant, Mason Construction and Development, provided an introduction and testimony in support of the application for zoning change. Providing testimony and speaking in favor of the proposed zoning map amendment, Dan Perkins of Crestwood, Mike Hill with Land Design and Development, Eric Zen, Land Design and Development, Felix Ramirez, LaGrange, and Jim Urban, LaGrange. Providing testimony and speaking in opposition of the proposed zoning map amendment, Nathan Merrill in LaGrange and Kevin Durbin in Grand Villa. Fiscal Court asked questions of the applicant. The applicant's representatives, and planning and development staff members responded to questions and provided additional testimony as discussion followed. Fiscal Court asked questions of the opposition. Nathan Merrill responded to questions and provided additional testimony and discussion followed. Both applicant and opposition presented final remarks and the public hearing was closed. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Harrison to adopt the proposed ordinance KOC 19-920-516. Discussion followed. Motion carried 7-2 on a roll call vote. Judge Vogel and the following magistrates voted yes: Likens, Harrison, Greenwell, Hounds, Hawkins, and Logsdon. Magistrates Heiss and Dye voted no. Judge Vogel announced a 5-minute recess, hearing no objection. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to reconvene from the recess. Motion carried unanimously. Contract agreements and resolutions. 2019-20 Waste Tire Grant Agreement. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the Waste Tire Grant Agreement for 2019-20. Motion carried unanimously. Airbnb Voluntary Collection Agreement, Transient Room Taxes. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Tice to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the Voluntary Collection Agreement with Airbnb relating to the collection of transient room taxes. Motion carried 8-1. Magistrate Hawkins voted no. Encompass Professional Services Agreement. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the Professional Services Agreement with Encompass relating to design services for Phase 1 of the Meeting Space Renovation Project at 108 West Jefferson Street, LaGrange. Motion carried unanimously. Reports and recommendations. Road Committee, Speed Limit Reduction, Old Taylor Place Subdivision. Motion made by Magistrate Tice, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve lowering the speed limit to 15 miles per hour in Old Taylor Place subdivision. Motion carried unanimously. Road Committee Erosion Control Bond Release, Ballard Woods, Section 5. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Harrison, upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release a $65,000 erosion control bond relating to Ballard Woods, Section 5. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions, Police Department. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon, seconded by Magistrate Hounds, to approve the retirements of Detectives Thomas Moore, Officer Mike Head, and Officer Matt Lay, effective May 31st, 2019. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the employee contract with Greg Smith relating to professional services for the position of Chief of Police in Oldham County, effective June 1st, 2019. Motion carried unanimously. Parks and Recreation Aquatic Center. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Hounds, to hire Jack Markham as first-year lifeguard at $8.59 an hour and Ella LeClaire as second-year lifeguard at $8.67 an hour, effective May 21st. Motion carried unanimously. Board appointments. Oldham LaGrange Development Authority. Motion made by Magistrate Lincoln, seconded by Magistrate Tice, to reappoint Stephen Edwards to the Oldham Board with the term to expire May 31st, 2023. Motion carried unanimously. Tourism Board. Motion made by Judge Executive Vogel, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell, to appoint Barry Laws to the Tourism Board through January 10th, 2020, to fulfill the unexpired term of Katie Nasser, who resigned. Motion carried unanimously. Chamber and Economic Development Board. Motion made by Magistrate Tice, seconded by Magistrate Hounds, to reappoint Ken Stess to the Oldham County Chamber and Economic Development Board with the term to expire June 1st, 2022. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment, none. Announcements. Magistrate Lincoln's announced the annual Memorial Day program is Monday, May 27th, beginning at 10 a.m. on the courthouse lawn. Magistrate Harrison announced Tetra Tech will present a brief report to Fiscal Court about the first phase of the Westport project, tentative Westport community meeting, June 6th. Demolition of the Highway 524 bridge is complete. Continue to use detour route on East Highway 524. The boat ramp in Westport and the shops remain open. Magistrate Greenwell expressed his condolences to Tim Keel and his family. He attended the annual Peace Officers Memorial Service at LaGrange Baptist Church and commended the organizers of this event. Magistrate Hounds thanked all who attended the public meeting regarding Ash Avenue construction project. The annual Crusade for Children campaign kicks off next week. Firefighters will be out seeking contributions. Magistrate Hawkins clarified the reason for her request to be called later in the roll call voting order for the zoning map amendment. Magistrate Dye stated he, Magistrate Logsdon, and Judge Vogel attended the Gold Families Recognition Ceremony at South Oldham High School. Oldham County Republican Party annual dinner is June 14th at 6:30 at Udell Gardens. Judge Vogel announced Channel 184 viewers can find the menu or schedule of programs on the county's website and Facebook page with over 800 videos, including public meetings, events, and public service announcements. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting adjourned at 5:30.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from May 21st. Are there any corrections? Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you, Judge. I believe in the next to last entry under announcements with Magistrate Dye that he and Logsdon and Judge Vogel attended, it should be Gold Star families. That's all. Thank you.
Gold Star, correct. Anything else? Hearing nothing, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, I'd like to ask the fiscal court, to momentarily consider the moving our first meeting in July, which would normally be on the 2nd of July, a Tuesday. I'd like to ask the court to move the meeting until the 28th of June at 1 p.m. The reason we do this is that we get the end of June is the end of the fiscal year for the current series of expenses, and we try to pay all of our bills right up through that point at the last minute. So we've, over the last several years, have met sometime during the last week of June, and this particular year, at 1 p.m. on the 28th, Friday afternoon, seems to be the most advantageous time, given that 2 days earlier, and actually that morning as well, some of us will be attending a meeting in Lexington. So is there a motion that we move our July meeting to June 28th at 1 p.m.? First meeting in July. Is there? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And we'll be signing and mailing the payments through the end of the fiscal year that afternoon. It's time now for a public comment. That's the time during our meeting when anyone who would like to address the fiscal court is able to do so. If you're here for another circumstance, we ask you to wait until we call on you, but if you're here to make an announcement, we're happy to have you now. Here's Becky Zockline.
Thank you, Judge, and good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies of the
Fiscal Court. I'm just giving a report, an update on the success of our first Leaders Don't Litter event, which was called Pick the Parks. It took place on May 11th, and we had roughly 40 volunteers at 11 different parks throughout the county, both city parks and county parks. And in a space of less than 2 hours, these very generous volunteers picked up over 1,000 pounds of trash. And that was disposed of courtesy of Republic Services. They provided a dumpster free of charge. Our next pick event will be, we're piggybacking on the Ohio River Sweep. That will be June 15th at Westport Park. Take the long way there. And this is sponsored by what's called a RANSCO. I forget what that stands for, but it's an Ohio River conservation group. So Dave Burnett is the person to contact. If you go to that website, you can learn more about how to volunteer. You do get a free t-shirt. We will be returning to the Pick the Parks type of theme. We're looking at September 21st, which also is our shredding event day, and just concentrating on Wendell Moore Park. There is a lot of work to do there.
Right. Thank you. I think our Leaders Don't Litter camp first year out was a very big success. I appreciate you organizing that, and do appreciate all of the individuals who turned out at the parks to help pick up litter.
Thank you.
It'd be easier if the people didn't litter, but
Certainly
we're
will.
sort of swimming against the tide there, but hopefully.
We want a county of leaders, not
Right, that's
litterers.
great. All right, thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court at this point? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and go on to the grant presentation we have here today, and that's to the Hope Health Clinic. Janet Warren is here from Hope Health Clinic. Each year, the fiscal court awards some financial assistance to various groups in the community. We divide up the money so that we are able to give support to a lot of groups, and because we appreciate everything that everybody is doing, and we would certainly want to reinforce the positive and successful endeavors of many groups in our community, one of them being the Hope Health Clinic. So Janet, would you like to, I have a check here for $4,500 for you to review with the court just the status of the clinic at this point.
Sure. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Court. We appreciate your investment in the clinic. We are in our 8th year here in the county seeing those who originally we opened seeing only uninsured. Today, our focus is not only on the uninsured, but on individuals who do not have access to health care. The landscape of health care has changed dramatically, as you all know. The ability to afford care is becoming very difficult, even if you have insurance. Most people who have insurance now are facing very, very large deductibles. So we're seeing a growing population coming to the clinic who are working in our local businesses and have insurance, but they can't afford to use that and get medical care. So the clinic is seeing those folks and providing them with quality primary medical care, and then we're able to refer them for specialty care through the Baptist system. In this last year, we added what's called a point of care lab, and it allows us to do basic labs for our patients on the spot, so our providers can make adjustments in medication and care plans immediately, and reducing the number of visits to the clinic for a patient and getting medication and treatment. Since we see the low wage earners, that's very important. They're all hourly. Probably 97% of our patients are employed. They're working in Walmart, Kroger's, McDonald's, all of your service industries throughout the county and surrounding areas. While Oldham County experiences a 6% poverty level, the city of LaGrange poverty level is 14.5%. That is a huge percentage of the people living below the poverty level in Oldham County. About 3,800 living below the poverty level, so you can guess around 1,200 in LaGrange specifically. Buckner is 17%, and by the way, the national average is 14%, so we excel in that area, and that's not a great place to excel. So we're seeing those folks. We're taking care of them. The investment we make in these individuals keeps them at work, keeps them in school. Record number of children coming to the clinic that we've not had in the past. So we see them. We're working with school resources, bringing kids to us who don't have insurance, who are arriving at school sick, and maybe for some reason or another are not in a situation where parents can bring them to the clinic for care. We're continuing to grow. Last year, we had 494 new patients with almost 4,000 patients coming to the clinic since we opened in 2011. So the need is there. The need continues to grow. We appreciate your investment. We would welcome a visit from any of you at any time. Come by and just check out what your investment is doing for you in this community. And we certainly do thank you for what you've done for us.
Thank you, Janet. Does anyone have any questions? Magistrate Likens?
I have one. Janet, could you tell people where the Hope Health Clinic is and
Yes.
their hours of operation, please?
Yes, we are on the campus of Baptist Hospital. There are two small buildings between Walmart and the hospital. We're the second building on the left. We have very well-marked buildings, large signage. We're open Monday through Thursday, Monday and Tuesday, 8:30 to 4:30. And to address the needs of those who are employed, on Wednesday and Thursday, we're open from 8:30 to 6:30. So we have extended hours. And our goal is to ultimately move to that 6:30 mark on every day that we're open. And then we're also looking at other options for the future for additional care.
Well, Janet, on behalf of the people of Oldham County and the fiscal court, I'd like to present you with this check for $4,500. Hope that I know you'll spend it this week, so thank you for everything you're doing on behalf of everybody sitting here. Thank you. All right, thank you. Now I'd like to ask Laura Tapp from the Crossroads Pregnancy Resource Center, also going to receive a grant today from the fiscal court, to come forward. Laura, welcome, and I'd like, you saw what Janet did, like to have you review the activities of the Pregnancy Resource Center.
Sure. Thank you, Judge, and thank you, members of fiscal court. We are just immensely blessed to exist in a community that is so well received, that loves Crossroads and the ministry and what we do. So far this year, from January to May, we've had the opportunity to serve 53 different clients with 350 individual visits to Crossroads. Those visits can be anything from a pregnancy test to a parenting education class to a peer counseling session, maybe a Bible study. And when those clients come in, we're able to not only connect with them in those ways, but we also can connect them with other resources in the community. For example, the Hope Health Clinic, if they need medical services, or the legal ministry that's in Crestwood, if they need those types of services, or we can connect them with a food pantry if that's what their need might be. We also, for every one of those client visits, all those 350 visits this year, most of those ended with clients walking out with something they needed, whether that was diapers and wipes or baby formula or a car seat sometimes, or a crib. Sometimes their needs are something bigger so that their baby has a safe place to sleep at night. I don't know if everybody's heard, but we have recently been able to add the provision of limited obstetric ultrasounds, and we are super, super excited about that. I won't go into a great detail about all that entails and what it means, but what I will tell you is that with being able to provide an ultrasound to a woman who is afraid and in a crisis situation is just the best tool we could possibly have to speak truth and love into her life at a time when she needs it most. I was asked to share a rather startling statistic with you today, and it's an old statistic, I'll tell you. It's 13 years old. But the KRS rules have changed in what is required in reporting when an abortion is performed in Kentucky. So there aren't any more recent numbers to pull from. But in 2006, Oldham County had the third highest rate of abortion in the state. Jefferson County was number 1, Fayette County was number 2, and Oldham County was number 3. And the abortion industry just pours money into advertising. You know, when a woman is in crisis, there's no yellow pages anymore. She goes to Google. Google is the new yellow pages, but instead of a one-time fee where you pay to have your ad placed in there, it takes money every month to keep that ad. And what the abortion industry does is they pay money to make sure their ad shows up at the top of the list every month. So when a woman goes to research terms on how to get an abortion or where can I get a free pregnancy test, they show up first. And with this beautiful gift from Fiscal Court, we are now going to have the resources available so that we can make sure we show up top on that list as well, because we want women in this community to be able to find us when they need us. We want the opportunity to love on them and unconditionally accept them no matter what their circumstances, and to be able to provide them with that truth and love. So thank you. On behalf of me, all the volunteers who give of their time and talents and gifts on a weekly basis, from the clients that we have, the clients that we're going to have because of this grant, and on behalf of several of our board members who came with me today to show their support as well and their thanks for what you're doing for us.
Thank you, Laura.
Again, Judge, a location, hours of operation, contact information.
We are in Crestwood, directly across the street. If you know where Goodwill is, we're across the street, but you can't see our building from the road. We're actually, you can see the building, but it's, if you know where the Skincare by Pilar is, we're in the lower level of that building. So if you pull in the parking lot and drive around to the back, it provides wonderful private parking for our clients. We are open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 6, Wednesdays from 9 to 1. If we have someone in crisis and looking for a pregnancy test, we will meet them outside of those hours if that's what they need. And to call us, you go to our website, which is mycrossroadsoc.org, or they can call us at 222-7700.
Magistrate Hawkins.
I just want to say thank you for all that you and your board does.
Thank you.
It's a gift that you're here in Oldham County.
All right, Laura, on behalf of the people of Oldham County and the members of the Fiscal Court, I'd like to present you with this check for $6,500 to keep doing your work.
Thank you.
There isn't anything more important in our society than the successful raising of children and happy and safe homes. And I won't get into my opinion, about some things, but I appreciate the work you're doing very much. I want to ask the Fiscal Court to just flip the next two. I was going to go on to a video presentation by Operation Parent, but I think we could delay that. I'd like to have David Service, since he's here, and he's a professional who gets paid by time, so I don't want to have him wait any longer to have his opportunity. David Service from Tetra Tech is here to update the court on the progress that we're making and our exploration of improvements at Westport Park. So, David, welcome.
Thank you, Judge, magistrates of the court. Thank you for having me
Remember,
today.
I've asked everybody to kind of project because,
All right.
so.
I'm Dave Service with Tetra Tech. I do have some associates with me in the room. This is Kirsten from Kirsten Fuchs from Red Wing. Also, Lee Pulliam with Land Management Solutions, Lee, and his associate, who is a forester, Mike Silliman. Not your brother, right? Okay. I've got this presentation, it's packed. I'm going to make just a couple of suggestions. I'm going to move through it really quick. It's divided into three parts. Parts is boiled down from the selection process that we went through with the Parks Committee and others, the status of what we're doing, and then just some visual photographs of River's Edge Park types of things, just to kind of give you some vision. This piece of paper in front of you is just a reminder of what we needed to comply with on the grading of the statement of qualifications that we submitted, and then also the requested interview topics. Our partners in this main partners in this team are Bravura, who has done early master planning in 2015 at Westport, and then also Jacoby Toombs and Lance. Jacoby Toombs and Lance does a fair amount of business with OSEA, and they are people that I've known since I came to Louisville in 1990. And there's the summary, and here is the 2015 plan that was done by a committee of folks and Bravura. My company overview. Lee, you got into that picture up there. I see that beard. Why don't you do that? Quick thing about Tetra Tech. We've got kind of a trademark for leading with science, and science is what we're out there doing for you right now, and we'll be covering that in a little bit. Our business is 17,000 people and 400 offices worldwide. Our folks, you asked us to have plenty of Kentucky registrants on our team, and those that are in the gold shade there are those people. We've got consulting park planner, that's Dave Newman from Bravura. Many others are Tetra Tech, and then also Jacoby Toombs and Lance is working with us on survey and photogrammetry, and they're also valuable to our team because they developed a riverfront in Jeffersonville. We have an organization chart up at the top. It's led by a county representative, and that person today is Magistrate Harrison. Parks and parklands were of interest, obviously, and one of the objectives of our team is to respect the past investment that you guys have made already in looking at this particular tract of land and what you may want to do with it. Bravura was involved in the Louisville waterfront. They've been involved in the parklands, and they are also now involved with the River Heritage Conservancy in Clarksville, Jeffersonville, on their waterfront park that they're planning. Our company, just to give you another big picture, did the Tunica River Park on the Mississippi River, and that ramp and that docking facility out in the river is large enough to deal with the Mississippi Queen. Louisville Olmsted Parks. 25 years ago, our company was selected, and Jim Walters, the principal of Bravura, was on the Olmsted Conservancy at that time. You asked about relationships we had with our team. We've worked with him since that time. And Mike Yost, one of our senior people, has been doing parks work in Louisville since '79, and some of our other folks for a decade or so. So we've worked in Iroquois Park. We've done over 65 projects since the Olmsted plan came out. We've got projects in Cherokee Park, projects in Shawnee Park. You also asked about major waterway experience. The Ohio River is a major force. Our major waterways experience is 25 years deep with the Corps of Engineers. We've worked on the Ohio River, Mississippi River, Columbia River, and then in the Gulf Coast, doing one of the largest surge barriers ever done by the Corps of Engineers. It was a $1.1 billion design-build project. We've also worked on the Panama Canal recently. In our presentation, I had this kind of a graphic for all the rivers we've worked on, but our folks that I sat with in Bellevue, Washington, when I was in Seattle, have worked on 17 locks and dams in the Ohio River. So we understand the dynamics of hydraulics, hydrology, structures in the river. This is interesting. This is the largest one in Kentucky. On the left is a 17-foot floating guide wall made of concrete. It took 90 minutes with 6 tugs to put that in place. I joked in our interview that maybe we'll just build one of those and build a park on it. It'll go up and down with the river and we'll all be dry. So, different kind of river walls. I'm going to come to this H wall at the very end of the process, but we use H walls more for landslide stability below highways that are having slumping problems. But the captain's quarters marina has a face like this H wall. Then we protect it. You see this is the large flood wall, and then a closure that we did in the National Mall. In the back on the right, you can see the Washington Monument. It's just another type of flood wall. This is the Jacoby Tombs and Lands project on the riverfront in Jeffersonville. It's pretty interesting. I like it because up here where these docks are, it's step back like steps where people can get right down to the water, and it was created by making 5-ton blocks and placing them. Water's edge treatments. I first heard about this project coming up in November, and that's what I saw when I went out there in 2018. One of my guys was out there in January. It's just kind of what the waterfront looks like. You do have debris, and I know you have to, your parks folks and others have to deal with that. It's a constant maintenance issue. Here's the Louisville Waterfront Park, courtesy of Riviera. Just gives you some ideas of edges that are hard or edges that are riparian. We did a big plan for the LA River revitalization. These are just some renderings of the concepts for being next to the water. You were concerned about federal, state, and local permitting. These are the governing facilities that we'll work with for whatever we do. The hydraulic impact of the Ohio River was of concern. We've done the hydraulic and hydrologic modeling on the Ohio River, its tributary, the Kanawha, the Potomac River, Mississippi, Susquehanna, Scioto, Muskingum. And the H&H work is what we need to do to understand any impact of anything that we build on the river's edge with regard to eddies and things that cause siltation or erosion or things like that. Okay, and I think I just said what's on this slide. Maintenance issues. I chose to photograph one day when I was over at the River Heritage Conservancy what Jeffersonville looked like after high water. And my understanding was from those folks over there that when you have debris, if it's a log and it's still touching the water, you can push it back in. It's not what the Corps told us when we had them out. And then on the waterfront in Louisville, on a case-by-case basis, when you get mud, they have hydrants, they hose it back into the river, but they have to ask the permission of the Corps of Engineers on a case-by-case basis to do it. So here's some maintenance considerations that we've presented to you, and it's kind of the logical things. What we can do is help you predict maintenance. This chart was made for work we did on Chickasaw Park down in West Louisville. Is you can anticipate certain types of storms and how much water is going to come up against your property and help you predict how many times a year you might need to do maintenance. So I'm going to shift now to what we're doing today. The master plan that Bravura worked, incidentally, Bravura came to me and notified me that this opportunity was on the street. And a river wall, walkway promenade sounded like an engineering-led thing, so we decided that we would lead it and Bravura would be our consultant. These are the things that in 2015 that were important, what the master plan was intended to do. And their opinion at that time on shoreline restoration, how does it help? It's the access, the aesthetics, the views, good design, encompasses topography, hydrology, circulation, ecology, sustainability, and I think most important is to try to make sure that it's reasonably maintainable. So the stakeholders involved, off the minutes, at that point in time, there were many residents, with folks associated with the National Park Service and Bravura and yourselves for these. Okay, where we are on contract number 1. We decided with the court that we would do individual contracts as we went through this rather than a task order contract. And this is 7NT on the job. They are a minority driller. They're very popular with all the consultants in the Metropolitan Sewer District. So you've got minority business involvement. and the gentleman on the left is our geotechnical engineer, working with them, taking samples and recording everything that they do. Our scope of work for contract number 1 was to get on site with the Corps of Engineers and determine what barriers or hurdles we might need to jump to ultimately permit whatever we do. The biggest piece of the work was to do the subsurface investigation, and then we were going to do planning meetings with stakeholders. So we'll need a Section 404 and Section 10 permit, and if we do construction below what's called the high water mark on the river. We're going to do preliminary investigation. We finished the field exploration. The laboratory testing of the soil samples is complete, and our geotechnical engineer is in the process of doing his report and analysis. We're having this meeting today with regard to the stakeholders, yourselves and others. On Thursday, we're going to be at the Westport Baptist Church to be with the community. There's a special call meeting, work session next week on Tuesday, and we've talked about establishing sort of a working group that we can bounce things off of so there's transparency on what we're doing. So the subsurface, just talking to my geotech today, the red dots on that picture are the boring locations. The ones closest to the river were 70 feet deep. The ones away from the river were 30 feet deep. And you can see kind of the characteristics of what he saw. And there's no barrier, there's no rock, and the subsurface conditions are going to be suitable for park development, and we'll have more information on that. This is a navigation chart, and it shows you here at Westport that you have the pool at McAlpin is 420. Obviously, water runs downhill, and the elevation of the pool is higher here. And the 427 elevation is the high water, ordinary high water depth. And if we are in that space, then we have to have a permit. Okay, here's things we found, and this picture tells a lot. Magistrate Harrison called me up and said, you need to come look at the river. And the Corps of Engineers, for some reason, dropped it pretty substantially, and you can see an issue that we're going to have to get to the bottom of. So we have a lot of siltation, and I've talked to the Corps of Engineers, and kind of their comment was the last 2 years has just been a lot of muddy water. And we're going to have to assess what this means to us. The pool has come back up. Magistrate Harrison showed me a picture from yesterday. It's almost back up to the trees. So we're going to try to find out more about how they're managing it. I talked to the deputy chief engineer at the Corps on his way home on Friday. He says what we try to do is keep the river gauge at 12. And we don't like to go to 13 because when they go to 13, then the Coast Guard is looking at them about lock-throughs and lockages and stuff like that. And if they see a peak coming into Markland Dam, it's going to be coming down, then they're talking to the people at McAlpin to try to manage the river level properly. But we're going to get in more details on that. What I found is you really don't have a bank stabilization issue. What you already have out here is armoring on the riverbank. And you can see that there's no erosion. And here's a detail of how that stuff is put together. The blocks about this big. You can see in the one on the left, there's wires or cable. It's strung through that so that it stays together. And it's underlain by fabric. And the armoring is about, I pasted off, I believe it was 12 paces or something. It's about 30 feet wide swath from the boat ramp all the way south to the property line of the adjacent subdivision. The ordinary high water mark, I'm going to be interested when we do the survey out there to find out if the right side or the uphill side of that armoring is the ordinary high water mark, just if it was, I don't know when that was installed. It looks like it's sustainable flood-resistant vegetation could grow if planted in those small places where you see the weeds and grass growing. The users indicate that the armoring is difficult to traverse safely if they try to get down to the the water's edge, and I have to agree, I had to watch where I was walking. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is contract number 2, next actions. This survey was procured by Revere, and also, obviously, you know that Magistrate Harrison, that's his business, by Mr. Berry. This particular survey is very good. It's monumented out there. To the right side, we have acquired tracts that have not been topographically surveyed. To the north, we have the U of L property that has requires topographic survey as well. So the scope of work that Jacoby Toombs and Lanes has given me that we will propose to you coming into the committee meeting on the 11th and back before you on the 18th is to do that topo survey. Also get some line segments and points that enable us to consolidate the acquired properties into one tract. And then along the river's edge at 50-foot intervals, we plan to get out there with a rod and a boat and just see where that silt is and where it drops off, maybe going out 100 feet to 125 feet. Our arborist, Lee, is going to provide GPS from the tree survey, and we'll integrate that into the survey, and then we'll merge it all and look for any errors. So the tree survey by Lee Pulliam, you've got some trees on the left that are failing, but they still are possible bat habitat, correct? Okay. And on the right are the ones that you have down by the shore. And I counted on the aerial photography. You got 40 or 50 trees out there, and they are an asset. They're lovely. So the tree survey, these guys go up, and we're going to have 40 to 50 of them. They go up there and hug them like this and say, oh, that's about 3 foot wide. I think that's what they do. But they will give us a tree height, at breast height, how wide it is, things about their health, maintenance in the future, and a report that will include specific information on how to manage them if you choose to remove any. And also, the bat window is April to October? October to March. Okay. So you can't touch trees in that time period. So here's your Indiana bat, and here are your mussels. And part of what Kirsten will be doing is a preliminary survey to help us understand if this is an issue we have to deal with and get into that type of survey. We're just doing an assessment. A survey, according to the way she described it to me, if we find that we have a problem, is divers. You have to pay divers that are ecologists, are they? That go under the water every 50 feet, try to see what's down there, and that can be an expensive process. So the bat and mussel site assessment scope is written, and here it is. We asked for a stepwise assessment, not jumping in with both feet, and they'll do that assessment, and we'll submit some report to U.S. Fish and Wildlife and see what guidance they have. Okay, concept development. Here's a couple sketches that Revere has been working on, just expanding on what you had before, looking at soft and hard facing to the river. And now I'm just going to go through a bunch of pictures just so you can see the treatments. The interesting thing about this one right here, the river flows underneath that. The current, they could not put the structures all the way to the floor of the river because it moves the current, and the barges have to hit that slot to go into McAlpin. So half of the Great Lawn is on piers, about this big around, and those facings are just attached to the slab. I won't go into any other detail, but here is more of a riparian riverfront, another one. This is Jeffersonville with the steps. That's Jeffersonville as well for docking. Another hard edge in Louisville. Their marina downtown. Marina up off of River Road. And When I first came up here in November, Kevin was here, and he said, go look at Captain's Quarters. Well, I went to Captain's Quarters 5 times, and it was always underwater. But what I found was, the way he described it, I thought it was an H-wall, and it was. When you get down on your belly and look over the lip there, it is a wall like the one on the right, and the sidewalk is poured over it, and obviously these chairs and the planters and everything are just seasonal, and they do have a deeper draft. On siltation, if you turn around this way and look that way, you look across the mouth of Harrods Creek, there's almost an island out there of silt right now, so they've got their issues as well. And that's the end of my presentation. I was going to put a photograph of the bridge, 523, with it all torn apart. Thank you for your time, and we'll be meeting with Parks Committee on the 11th, and we'll be back to see you on the 18th with a proposal for contract 2. Thank you, sir.
Anybody have any comments or questions they'd like to address to David at this point?
Judge, I have one. Thank you. Dave, could you possibly provide that presentation to us, and when we can distribute to individual members of the court to have more time to look at it?
You got it, right? It's on this system. So
It's already there,
in there, and
so
all
we
you
can
need
do
to
it.
do is download it.
Great, thank you.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Hi again.
Hi.
Regarding the, and the camera's going to be on my face probably, so I have to say I've lacerated my conjunctiva. So ignore that, sorry. Regarding the height and the width of the trees, your guys are going to assess a value, essentially. Is that how I understand
Are we
it?
going to put a value on it?
The original proposal was just to give a health assessment,
And
not necessarily.
and it's very favorably priced.
You want a monetary value?
Well, when we talked about it during the Parks Committee meeting last, it was stated that perhaps you all would give determine the value of the trees. And so that, to me, was a little controversial, because who can determine the value of a tree? And is it a monetary value, an emotional value? So when you talk about the trees, could you go a little bit more in depth, or should we wait for another presentation about that? Or what exactly will you be assessing when you assess the width and the height and et cetera?
I think I'll let Lee Pruitt with Land Management Solutions just come up and address that. Is that okay?
Well, just to correct the record, I don't think I said the value, I said the quality of the trees, because not all trees have the same quality. There's some that are completely dead, need to come down now. There are others that may die soon that we need to consider.
And
So,
assessing a dollar value is not currently in the scope of the work. It's just
Right.
the condition.
Correct, yes. Primarily what the assessment would entail would be species, height, basically what tree it is, where it is, somewhat of some tree risk assessments as well. You know, if the tree has structural, abiotic, or biotic discrepancies, that would be disclosed within that report as well. Basically offering a full kind of overview of any potential hazards, especially since there'll be constituents or park patrons there. That would be kind of the main focus, would be kind of risk versus, what the value would be. There's formulas, there's methods to give plant appraisal kind of a monetary value. But again, as Dave and Mr. Harrison kind of had disclosed, I don't think that is in this scope. So, any
This
other
is-
questions?
Lee Pulliam, P-U-L-L-I-A-M, not Pruitt, sorry about that.
That's okay. So, any other questions on that? And there's formulas, myself and my colleague Mike Silliman are both track qualified, so we can really be able to provide some science behind what we would provide you guys.
Is that satisfactory?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else, folks?
Anyone else? Have anything? All right, thank you.
sir.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. And any magistrate, there is going to be a meeting on the 11th. I think you've asked for a special Parks meeting, and any magistrate. We've asked a couple other people outside the fiscal court who are, let's say, experts or have strong interest in the park and boating and the river and so forth to participate in the some future discussions about this. All magistrates are welcome to attend any meeting, and also to the extent that you're interested in pursuing detail, please come.
I got the date, where and when?
That'd be the
What time?
On the 11th at 2:30.
11th at 2:30 here in the fiscal court building.
Right, I think Sheila's scheduled the workroom, but I don't know how many we're gonna have.
Mic on?
It's on.
Okay.
We may need a larger room.
The Tuesday, that'd be on the 11th at 2:30 p.m. All right, thank you, David, for coming out. Thank you, Kristen, and thank you, other gentlemen, for being here today. Earlier, we awarded some grant money to two different agencies in the community. We've awarded some at our last meeting, and I'd like to go through a short presentation now from a group that we had supported earlier. And I think from my perspective here, it's important for those of us on the fiscal court to actually see or visit, be present to the support we provide in the community. It's one thing to listen to someone in a room here and say, well, here's a check, we're helping you out, thank you. It's another to actually see some of the results. Today, I'd like to present some of the results from Operation Parent. If you recall, last year, the court was asked to provide funding for videos that Operation Parent, in conjunction with the Oldham County Community Foundation, was developing to provide for the fourth grade students in Oldham County and beyond Oldham County. What we are about to see is a valuable presentation that is applicable virtually anywhere in our country. But it was created initially and primarily for the fourth grade students in Oldham County. Why fourth grade students? Because the testing and assessments and other work done by psychologists and school personnel show that fourth grade is possibly the last year that kids are actually listening to their parents more than they're listening to peers. And so we all are aware of the fact that children are exposed to a number of just challenging activities and circumstances, and the children have to be armed, as well as their parents must be armed, to combat what can lead a child in the wrong direction. So the fiscal court, the Baptist Health Care, and also Norton Healthcare were the primary sponsors of these videos. So far, there have been 4 made. One of them has to do with prescription drug abuse. Another has to do with cyber bullying. Another has to do with good food choices. Another has to do with anxiety. These videos are all done in a fairly similar way, and each video is connected to a person that has a certain amount of profile, at least in our community, and possibly nationally. Heather French Henry did the one on cyberbullying, excellent. Jennifer Lawrence's mother, the actress's mother, did the one on anxiety. I don't think it's a secret that Jennifer Lawrence grew up with a number of childhood problems. Her mother ran a camp in Henry County called Camp Hi-Ho. She had a difficult time. She's done one. The one I'm going to show today here, it's about 6 minutes. This video was done by Debbie De La Garza, and she's an author, and she's also the mother of Demi Lovato. Now, I personally did not know who Demi Lovato was, but my daughters lit up right away and said she's a well-known singer. Demi Lovato was a prescription drug abuser as a child. Her mother participated in this, and our funding helped get this here. We're also trying to get Coach Cal, we're working very hard to try to get him to do one on vaping. And I feel like we're going to have a good chance to get it. The script has gone to him, and he's not in Lexington for the summer, but we're going to try hard to get that done. So now I'd like to ask Kevin to play this. It's about 6 minutes or 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I think you'll be proud of what we have helped sponsor.
Hey parents, can I ask you a personal question? Do you have any prescription medications in your house right now? Maybe painkillers from a previous surgery or Xanax to help with anxiety? The reason I ask is because the misuse of our prescription drugs by our own children and their friends is leading to addiction, overdose, and death in your neighborhood and mine. Did you know every day in our country, 1,100 adolescents start to misuse prescription pain relievers? About 2/3 of teens who abuse prescription drugs get them from family members, friends, and acquaintances. Following marijuana and alcohol, prescription drugs are the most commonly misused substances by our children 14 years of age and older. And to make matters worse, only about 50% of our children understand that prescription medication can be dangerous when it's misused. It's time to start talking to our kids, and that's why I'm making this video. Starting these conversations now, while our kids are in elementary school, is the best way to prevent problems in middle and high school. We are the most important influence on whether our children will decide to use alcohol or drugs, and just by teaching them about the risks, they are half as likely to use them. We can do this. So what prescription drugs are our kids misusing? Let's take a quick inventory. Do you have any OxyContin or hydrocodone in your house? These are painkillers, also known as opioids, and they are the most commonly misused prescription drugs in the country. Do you have any Valium or Xanax in your medicine cabinet? These are depressants used to relieve anxiety. What about Adderall or Ritalin? These are stimulants used to treat attention deficit and hyperactivity disorders. If you or your children are currently taking any of these medications, keep them locked up and out of reach. It's important to know these medications are being misused. Sometimes parents share their own medications with their children. Some medications that come in pill form, typically painkillers, can be crushed and then the powder is snorted. Some kids may mix the prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol. If you hear the term farm party, think farm party, where kids grab a handful of pills from home, take them to a party, throw them in a bowl full of other pills, and then chase them down with alcohol. And some kids will simply take a prescription drug just to get high. No matter the method or the reason, the outcome is the same: potential for addiction. Now's the time for us to get out in front of this issue. Here are some tips to help you start the conversation. Explain to your child that prescription medications and non-prescription medications like Tylenol and Robitussin contain chemicals that change the way a person's body and brain work. Your son or daughter's brain is still growing and developing, so it's mom and dad's job to make sure that they stay away from any bad drugs. Explain that when a doctor gives them a prescription drug to help their body fight an illness or for pain, the doctor considers their weight, their allergies, and other medications they may be taking to safely provide the exact right medicine just for them. They should never share their medications with anyone else, and they should never, ever take someone else's medicine. Taking someone else's prescription drug can make you sick and could even kill you. On the bottle are instructions for how many times a day to take the drug and the amount. Not following these directions is very dangerous, so only mom mom and dad will give out medications and order refills. Practice with your child how to say no if offered drugs or alcohol. They may be offered a drug by a relative, family friend, or friend. Here are some practical tips you can start today in your home. Discard any leftover or expired medications. Twice a year, the DEA holds a nationwide prescription drug take-back day. Go to takebackday.dea.gov for local drug disposal locations. Be mindful of not sharing prescription drugs within the family. Your children are watching. Count your pills. Know how many are prescribed and how many pills are left. Consider using a prescription lockbox to secure all prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs like cough syrup and decongestants. Unfortunately, with the rise of prescription drug abuse and addiction, your family's prescription drugs could be taken by a family member or a friend. So locking them up is the best option. To protect against overdosing or forgetting a dose, you may want to investigate products such as timer caps. Timer caps provide an automatic timer cap that resets when the medicine bottle has been opened, so you'll know how long it's been since it was last opened. If you or anyone in your household is struggling with prescription drug abuse or addiction, please get help. Call SAMHSA's national hotline, 1-800-662-HELP. You can do this. Be the parent and let us know how we can help.
All right, I hope you saw our logo down there at the end, and along with several other groups in the community that help support it. All right, thank you, Kevin. I think that's very well done. The others are equally well done, and some of those things that were discussed, you may say, well, I knew that, but there are some people who may not know that, probably quite a few who don't, and most of the parents that are promoted, these are promoted among kids and parents at school to watch together at home. And when you're, maybe the average age we have here is higher than the average age of some fourth grade parents who may not be thinking about this in the same way we are. So I thank the court for supporting this. I think it was a good expenditure of community resources. They've had several thousand views among Oldham County students and parents so far, and these are only just a few months old. They're not, they're really essentially brand new. So, and they're obviously things that can be used for the long haul. All right, and congratulations to Operation Parent. I think the people there, Jean Shum and her team, continue to do excellent work. Going on to community business now, we have the second reading to a hearing amendment to the county's administrative code. Did I skip anything? Oops, payables, okay. Let's take a moment to pay the bills here.
So I'll move to pay the bills.
All right. Is there any discussion on anything there? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we can do the second reading of a public hearing. This is amendment to the county's administrative code. Are we going to do this, or? This has to do with our procurement code, and Melissa Horn will go over this. And this will be a public hearing where, after Melissa has outlined the suggested changes, we'll give anybody here an opportunity to comment on it who would like to.
This is ordinance KOC 19-200-518. And it will accomplish two things. The first is to properly define how we are going to purchase vehicles in the future, which is either through the state price contract or advertising for bids, or 3, to negotiate directly with vendors as long as the final agreement does not authorize a cost higher than the state price contract. The second thing this ordinance will do is change our administrative code to agree with House Bill 26 that just passed, which moves the small purchase definition from $20,000 to $30,000.
All right. Anyone have any questions on that, Melissa? All right, Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you. Melissa, when the old limit was 20,000, do we know how long that had been in place? And I guess this
Longer than I've been here.
okay,
So
so this is just a kind of a nod to inflation?
it's a modernization, I would say, of the spending limit, yeah.
All right. All right, is there a motion that,
I move.
Second.
all right, moved and seconded. I guess I'll hold the public hearing now before we have any further discussion among magistrates. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or in opposition to this amendment? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close public comment, and, our public hearing, and go to any comments that any magistrate would like to make. Magistrate Harrison?
Thank you, Judge. Isn't this being proposed also by DLG and CAECO? Didn't I see that somewhere that they're recommending that this be raised to the $30,000 level? Or did I miss that?
The state has already changed it with House Bill 26. So it's already been, or will be raised effective
All right.
June 28th. Mr. Carter, yes. Our administrative code needs to be changed to agree to that law because we have language in there that said the $20,000 limit.
Right. So we're not doing anything independent of everybody else? We're
We
just-
are not, sir.
We're getting in line?
Yes,
Okay,
we are.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, been moved and seconded that we bring our administrative code into compliance with the state statutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Melissa. All right, now we're on to, under contract agreements and resolutions, the MAC construction contract for the park and ride at Apple Patch. Jim Urban and Belinda Demas.
Great. Good afternoon, Judge, Magistrates. Just a quick update, and finally, Magistrate Dye, we're at the point of being able to start construction. Many years.
That's a good thing.
We've stood in front of you and asked for amendments to to agreements with the Transportation Cabinet, and now we're finally getting to construction. I'm really going to turn this over to Belinda, but I wanted to remind you that we put this project out for bid. There were 3 bidders. We selected at the last 2 fiscal court meetings ago, Mac Construction. They had the most responsive bid. And so now we have just a simple contract that we're asking you to consider the judge signing so that they can begin construction. We're anticipating having a pre-construction meeting tomorrow morning, and then we'll look for their schedule to get started soon. And the project is expected to be completed by the end of December. So I'm going to let Belinda talk about the contract.
This is a contract with Mac Construction, the accepted bidder for construction of the park and ride at Apple Patch. The agreement is for $1,539,720. We have federal CMAQ and SLO, which is Surface Transportation Funds, in place to pay for the project. The value of a land donation to the project will be used to match the CMAQ funds, and the Transportation Cabinet has approved toll credits to match the SLO funds, and we are asking fiscal court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the contract with Mac Construction.
I'd like to make that motion, Judge.
Second. Moved and seconded that I sign the contract with Mac Construction for the park and ride at Apple Patch in the amount of $1,539,720. Okay. Any discussion on this? We've had numerous prior discussion.
We
so,
have.
We're out of gas on discussing it. Let's do it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the supplemental agreement, number 5. Belinda.
This is a supplemental agreement with KYTC closing the design phase of the Park and Ride at Apple Patch project because we're now in construction. There are $4,586.16 remaining in the design phase, and this agreement will move that balance to the construction phase so that the money can still be utilized. This does not change our agreement with the Transportation Cabinet in any other way, and we're asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the agreement.
I'd like to make that motion, Judge. It allows the transfer 458616 to the construction phase of the prior contract.
Is there a second?
Our agreement.
All right, moved and seconded that $4,586.16 be moved from the design phase to the construction phase of the project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, QK4 contract for the right-of-way services for the Buckner Connector project. Jim
That's
Urban.
just a quick summary of this project. The Buckner Connector is kind of a misnomer. It is actually the extension of Commerce Parkway. This project was programmed a while back through KIPTA, and that was the name, the Buckner Connector. But really, we're extending Commerce Parkway from its current terminus at 393 onto Mattingly Road. And we've been actually working on this project for quite some time, and this is really an extension of existing contract with QK4. So I'll let Linda talk about that.
So this is an agreement with QK4 for right-of-way services for the Buckner Connector project in the amount of $46,514. This project is funded with SLO funds. We previously completed the acquisition of one large parcel, which was donated to the project, and have 8 additional parcels that will need to be acquired before we can move into utility and construction. And we are asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the agreement.
I'll make that motion, Judge.
Moved and seconded that I sign the agreement with QK4 for right-of-way services for the Commerce Parkway extension in the amount of $46,514. Magistrate Dye.
It's $46,000. Is this just, this is the total cost for all the acquisition of possible properties and all inclusive of all the action they have to take, or this is property value?
No, this is just for QK4 services to go out and do the acquisition. So for the appraisal, the title searches, the negotiation,
This is the administrative side?
the administrative side, yes.
Okay, all right,
Any
thank
idea
you.
what the budget is for these parcels?
We have $611,040 funded in federal funds for right-of-way, but we don't know what the budget will be until they do the appraisals. Part of that amount includes funding in case we have to go into a lawsuit or something like that. So we don't anticipate it being actually that much, but that is how much is programmed.
Thanks.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Will the name Mattingly Road go away if this is an extension of Commerce Parkway?
Maybe a portion of it. We're actually, Commerce Parkway extends all the way to Mattingly, which goes to Old LaGrange Road. Mattingly Road actually is a cul-de-sac. So the lower part will definitely stay Mattingly Road, but we haven't determined, I imagine it has to be named Commerce Parkway. Just the piece from where it, Commerce Parkway extension joins Mattingly onto LaGrange, Old LaGrange Road.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Jim and I spoke a little bit yesterday, and my concern yesterday was because these properties are in District 6, all of these public hearings and stuff took place well before I was here. And could you just let us know a little bit, like you did for me yesterday, that that these 8 folks and all the public meetings, everybody's in agreement?
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, just quickly stepping
Real
back,
quick.
I mean, the project has been in the design phase for probably about 2 years. The first component of the design phase is to have a public input meeting, and we had that meeting at the new Tri-County Ford location. They gave us a room, and quite a few property owners on Mattingly Road came. We looked at 2 alignments when we selected one after that meeting, but the response we got was, we don't care how you connect, just please get it for us. The intent of this project is to keep the vehicles, the trucks especially, that are in the Buckner Industrial Park, which is really the oldest industrial park in Oldham County, from going over the railroad tracks onto 146. So by extending Commerce Parkway, they'll come down to 393 and get on at exit 18 instead of going over to 17. So they were all very enthusiastic about building this connection. Any of the property owners who are impacted have already been notified, and they've been in contact with me several times, most of them eager to get the road built. So we don't see that there'll be any resistance to buying the right-of-way and then moving forward with this project.
Thank you. And hopefully this will help eliminate tractor trailers from going over the railroad tracks on Allen Lane, I'm hoping.
Well, this is not Allen Lane. Allen
right.
Lane's another project, but over onto 146, yes.
Right,
And that was
it'll-
the intent, that there's so much traffic on 146, if a tractor trailer's going over the railroad track to enter on 146, there's a vehicle in front, the rear end of that trailer is sometimes sticking over the track. And if they're there long enough, it risks being hit. You know, nobody's ever come close, but there isn't crossing gates there, so this will eliminate that crossing.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Speaking of trucks sticking over railroad tracks and getting hit, this morning at our staff meeting, Jerry Nart reported that want to give me the exact numbers again? Only 8 this year to date so far. Right. Right. On our solar light at Crestwood down there at the railroad crossing, we've had 8 circumstances so far this year where trucks were stuck on the track, ignored our warning, went forward anyway, or didn't see it, but I think it's hard not to see myself. But last year we had how many by this time? 21. So we're actually that sounds like about a 300% improvement to me, or something like that. So we're not 100% yet, but we're getting rid of some of those, and that's good. Now we're going to talk to Tim Keel here about the 2019 911 Services Grant application for updated computer-assisted design software at our dispatch service.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, court members. Last year, we applied for a grant with CMRS, which is Commercial Mobile Radio Services, through the state of Kentucky. We were not successful in that grant. Again, I want to apply for it again this year. A little increase in money, but I'm asking that the judge sign that application for the grant.
All right, you're asking for $134,000?
From the state, yes, sir. The CAD Pro, which it's called, is manufactured by Central Square. We're going to commit 25%, which is about $45,000, just under. We're asking the state for $134,000, almost $135,000. So.
All right, so the entire thing is about 160, is that right, or so?
179, just under 180, yes, sir.
Right, 180, so, all right. And what does that system intended to do?
That will be an upgrade to our current CAD system at OCD. That's been in place since 2010, 2011, so we need to upgrade as far as reporting features. I know the chief of Oldham County and other agencies have, you know, we need more robust reporting. This will allow us to do AVL, which is automatic vehicle locator, so we could dispatch closest units. Also allows the units in the field to see our CAD system as opposed to us telling them everything. So gate codes, which we don't give out over the radio, obviously, hidden key locations, things like that, they can see that themselves. So.
All right, is there a motion that I be allowed to sign this application?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion, comment from the court? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, just on a personal note, thank you to the court members and all the agencies in Oldham County. It's been a tremendous month for me with my mother's passing, and I thank you for your compassion. I appreciate all the kind words. It meant a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome, and we continue to extend our sympathy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now, we have a Kentucky Division of Water grant application for the Curry's Fork watershed. Jim Silliman and Becca Truman from Engineering.
The resolution you have before you for approval is related to the 319 grant extension or continuation that in February the fiscal court approved the proposal to go to the Division of Water, and this is a kind of a follow-up to that to proceed with the actual application. I'll let Becca Truman give any more specifics.
Thanks, Jim. So as Jim mentioned, this is continuation of our process to apply for funding through the Kentucky Division of Water. The court approved our initial proposal back in February, and we are asking the court now to authorize the judge to sign our application as well as any future documents that are needed in order to administer the program. You'll see you have a page that discusses, gives a brief summary of our budget. So you'll see that our federal request is $292,920. Our match is $195,280. This is the same numbers that you did receive in February, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Becca on that? Part of our local match is not actually cash, it's things that are done, correct?
Correct. There's no actual cash from the Oldham County Fiscal Court for this program.
None. None at all.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any further comment or questions about this? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Under personnel actions and board appointments, Tina Schaaf will be here now to help us. And we have an internship agreement.
Yes, good afternoon. Before you all this afternoon is an internship agreement. This document lays out I guess the policy on what we would do if we had an intern work for us but not get paid. So it's an unpaid internship. So it lays out the dates of when it would start and when it end, the expectations, and all of those items that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We could use this going forward for any department that would want to utilize an intern. We didn't have one in place, but we would like to have one this summer, actually. We would like to have an engineering intern. So that's
All right,
why
we
we're bringing it
get,
forward.
every year we get requests for people who would like to come here and function as an intern, try to learn something. We haven't exactly resisted these requests, but on the other hand, there are a lot of places where they just can't fit because of the fact that they don't really, in the police department, I guess you could do something there, but you'd almost be in the office. You wouldn't be out on the street with officers too much. Engineering is one place where people can be assisted. In my office, we don't really have functions that interns can do, but we're certainly open, and recycling, we might have somebody there or in something else. So, Magistrate to Hounds.
Tina, are we going to do separate job descriptions then for these internships per department, or a generic one, or how do you envision that?
I have not thought about doing job descriptions for an internship. We could look at that. Trying to think of why that person wouldn't be an actual employee. So we could look at that.
It would depend on, really, I mean, this
Yeah,
is
the
generic. This
department,
really
yeah.
says the intern signs this, agrees that they're not a county employee, that they're not, we're not responsible for any particular thing that they're not covered for any benefits. They're just here at our pleasure, and they understand that from the beginning. And as far as the job description goes, I mean, I think that'd be up to the department head as to what the department may need, what the flexibility or the interest of the proposed intern might be. There's a lot of moving parts there that are kind of hard to speculate in advance of what they might be. The main thing is for the intern to understand that we incur no financial responsibility for this individual. We do not incur any benefits responsibility for the individual. They're totally here on their own as a volunteer, and we're held harmless under all circumstances.
Right, and this agreement lays out what we expect from them, how they're to behave, and what they will also get from the county, which is experience, obviously, in the public sector, which is awesome. And the last line at the bottom, I would like to change the wording on that a little bit. It's grammatically incorrect. I would like it to say, I understand that this unpaid learning experience is not employment, and I'm not entitled to wages or a promise of employment at the completion of this unpaid structured learning experience. Because if you read it the way you all have it, it's got two different tenses, right? If you look, it says.
Can you say that a little
First it says
slower?
I, and then it says intern, so it says, what I would like it to say is, I understand that this unpaid learning experience is not employment, and I'm not entitled to wages or a promise of employment at the completion of this unpaid structured learning experience.
I do have a question, Judge.
Magistrate Dye.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
Not yet.
All right, I'll make the motion, then I'll ask the question.
All right, moved and seconded. All right, go ahead.
Can this be like, and I'm a little familiar with co-ops and jobs and stuff like this. Can they do this for like a credit for like a school, college?
They
or
probably could if they had brought what the requirements were from the school, I'm sure.
Okay. And they can only come up for one internship. They can't try to back to back. Like they can't do more than just one. here.
Right, there's going to be a time limit, a starting and an ending point, and we can't have it.
Okay.
Because at that
They
point,
could-
we need to start offering. If we kept them on for too long, we would have to offer benefits.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions about this? All right, been moved and seconded. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have the, do you want to do the pool employee now or no?
Yes, let's go ahead and do the pool hire now.
We lost the lifeguard, so we had to get another one. We have Lily Angeline. She's a first-year lifeguard at $8.59 an hour, effective today.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we have a couple of reappointments to boards. First board, we can probably do both these at the same time. They're both reappointments, and I'll take them separately if there's any discussion needed. But the first one, Henry County Water Board number 2, reappointment of Ron Barrickman to a term to expire on June 15th of 2023, and to the reappointment to the Code Enforcement Board of Ron Kaiser for an appointment to expire on June 18th, 2022.
I'll make the motion, Judge.
Second.
I moved and seconded regarding these appointments. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Time now for our second public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to address the court? And
Judge,
sir,
thank you. Jerry Norton and I talked about this before we convened earlier, and it pertains to normally my military reporting, but he's much more knowledgeable on this, and I asked him if he would just go ahead and give the report himself.
Okay.
Judge, it refers to what you spoke today at the meeting about as far as the happenings at the Veterans Memorial Park.
Okay.
So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park of Kentucky on the campus of South Oldham High School and Middle School, there will be a groundbreaking for a Gold Star Family Monument. A Medal of Honor recipient, William Herschel Woody Williams, will be there. His foundation leads the erection of these Gold Star Family Monuments across the country. And so they're going to put one, his goal is to have one in every state. He's a World War II veteran, quite an interesting fellow. But his goal is to have one in every state before he says he's done. And so we're doing one tomorrow morning at the Veterans Memorial Park at 10. He will be there along with the Gold Star mother, who's the chapter head here in Kentucky of the Gold Star Family Society. And a little bit of a side note, also immediately following that, we're going to do not a dedication, if you will, or anything, but just a photo session, if you will, with, again, with Woody, because he's a Medal of Honor recipient, because there was placed in the park a monument, not a monument, a marker about the story about this sole Medal of Honor recipient for the U.S. Coast Guard, which is kind of near and dear to my heart. It was funded by a Coast Guard reservist who retired, who was a Marine during Vietnam, 2 times Purple Heart recipient, and the persons who wrote the wording on the marker are 3 students from South Oldham Middle and High School who happen to be the daughters of Captain Mike Zamperini, the commanding officer of the Coast Guard here in Louisville, who will be leaving this coming Friday, being replaced. He's retiring, and a normal change of command. And his daughters were the ones who wrote that verbiage for that marker. So Woody has agreed to take a photograph with it. And the tie there, I guess, is, Woody was a Marine. Douglas Monroe, who was the Medal of Honor recipient for the Coast Guard, received that medal as a result of his actions at Guadalcanal for saving 300 Marines. And so he's the only one that we've had so far to this date for our service. So I just encourage anyone and everyone who might be willing to come by. The park still flourishes. It was led and started by a great man, and we're trying to carry on his legacy. And I refer to Don Helton, and we're trying to carry that on. So tomorrow morning, if you're available at 10 a.m., I'm sure we'd like to see you there.
Right. And Woody Williams is 95 years old.
Yes, he is. He is one of only 3 surviving Medal of Honor recipients from World War II. He's the only one from the South Pacific, and he was on Iwo Jima when he received his, or the actions therefore.
And he's quite a good speaker.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
All right, we'll see anybody else for public comment. Seeing no one, we'll go on now to see if any of the members of the court have any final thoughts before we end today's meeting. Magistrate Likens.
Nothing, Judge.
Magistrate Tice.
Yes, I have one thing. I passed out to all the magistrates before we convened today, and it's kind of economic development. Came out from our discussions, our committee earlier today. This is going to be presented to us on the first reading will be July 16th. Second reading will be on August 6th. This involves distilleries and barrel warehouses. It's new, and it's going to be into our planning and zoning books. I wanted to make sure that everybody had a copy of it, knew a little bit about it, and if we have any questions, we have plenty of time to get to Jim or Amy and ask those questions, because it is new, and it may prod some questions that we may not have to go through in court. That's all I got.
Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you, Judge. Quick report on the bridge on 524. It appears that they are running on schedule. They've started pouring concrete for the caps on the piers, and things are moving right along. And I appreciate the courtesy that, as far as I know, everybody in the Westport community has shown to the people working down there. It's a great bunch. 2 other things on the roads. We have had more, I think, improvements made to 524 and 18 Mile Creek Road in the last 60 days than maybe we have in several years. And a lot of credit for that goes to our county road department, led by Wes Williams, and also to the state maintenance people with Andy Hall. I think at Andy's last count, he had placed somewhere nearly 12 tons of asphalt, just patching places. It's not a fix, but the 524 right now, the long route we're having to take, it's in better condition than it has been for years. So hats off to both those. And if you see these guys out working on the road, don't get mad, don't blow the horn at them, toot the horn, wave at them with all fingers, and say thank you for doing a good job, because it's not a safe job and it's not an easy job, and they do make our lives better. As far as military observances, the big one is Thursday of this week, June 6th. It's been in the paper. It's the 75th anniversary of D-Day. And I encourage you to read what's being published, and also if you see any programs on television, take the time to look at them, because it's a remarkable experience. June 14th is the Army birthday, and it's also U.S. Flag Day. June 14th through the 15th is National Flag Week. And I will be hosting another community meeting in Westport this Thursday at 6:30. Public's welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. I would like to thank Jim Silliman and his staff for making our road committee meetings go extremely well. We get a lot accomplished, and it's because of the preparation and planning beforehand that happens. Also, school is out, and I just wish everyone a very safe summer.
Thank you. Magistrate Hounds.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Judge. As I reported last meeting that we had, the Crusade for Children kicked off. I'd like to report on the numbers that the Oldham County Fire Departments did. LaGrange Fire Department, $33,018.74. Westport, $4,622.19. South Oldham Fire, $52,823.20. Pee-wee Valley Fire, $27,210. Ballardsville, $13,627.74. And North Oldham Fire, $9,700, for a grand total of $141,001.87. All that money will come back to Oldham County residents in the form of grants that are applied for. I was in a meeting on last Thursday, and they receive about 2.5 times the money that's collected for grants. So $141,000 roughly come back into Oldham County. So thank you to all those people that donated. When the video that we saw, it was brought to my attention that there are 2 drug take-back dates in Oldham County, and we just had one not too long ago, but there'll be another one in the fall, and that at any time, or Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can take unwanted, unused drugs to the Oldham County Police Department. They're on 393. And I would suspect that if you call dispatch at 222-0111, that they could dispatch an officer to pick up those drugs, and they would be able to dispose of them for you. So there are means to get rid of those unwanted, unused prescription drugs. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and congratulations to all of our firemen and fire ladies who've been out and raised money for the crusade. And thank you to everyone that donated, too. Magistrate Hawkins.
I'm looking forward to hearing Woody speak tomorrow. Woody and my grandpa are part of the Greatest Generation, and there's not many of them left, so I would encourage anybody to bring kids out to help educate them on some folks from that generation. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Magistrate Dye.
Thank you, Judge. There was a Memorial Day service Monday, the 27th, that I was able to attend here in LaGrange. The judge had a short talk in the beginning. Other magistrates were there. I know some of them were there, some of them weren't. I don't want to say any names. I don't want to make anybody mad, but I knew who they were. The second thing is, last time I'll say this, is Lincoln Day dinner is June 14th at 6:30 at Udell Gardens. Call 222-1731 for the tickets. And one thing that was brought out today in the public safety meeting is There's been some rash of car break-ins around some of the communities, some of the subdivisions, and the police have advised to, either hide your stuff really, really good, or don't lock your door because that would stop them from having to break the window out. So, just words are wise, put your junk in your trunk and leave your car unlocked if that's what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Logston. All right, thank you. I do have a few things to finish up here with today. First of all, mark down June 28th is the Sheriff's Annual Golf Scramble at the Oldham County Country Club. I think you can sign up individually or your team by contacting the Sheriff's Office. Money raised there goes to the kids' ranch, Sheriff's Ranch out in western Kentucky. And Sheriff Sparrow does take people from Oldham County to that each year. Magistrate Likens and his wife, and Deputy Nuss and his wife, and myself and my wife, Mary Lee, were able to attend the Creasy Mahan fundraiser last Friday night. It was a very successful night, beautiful night for Creasy Mahan. Thank everybody in the community who turned out. Thank the Fiscal Court for the contribution we were able to make to help the handicap playground there. It was a very successful evening. I'd like to mention this, that a couple of days ago, a group of about 30 people started down the Ohio River from Portsmouth, Ohio. This is the Ohio River Paddlers program. It's to try to bring attention to recreation on the Ohio River. It's an 8-day trip from Portsmouth to Louisville. This group will be traveling in 2 to 3 large Voyager type canoes. They're 12-person canoes, similar to, I guess, what used to go down the river a couple hundred years ago. They will be stopping in Oldham County and camping overnight at Westport on Saturday evening, June 8th. And they are going to have a get-together at Knock on Wood for their dinner. And everyone in Oldham County who's interested in canoeing and recreation on the Ohio River would like to meet any of these people, they're certainly invited down. The entire episode will end the next day in Louisville. They do have a number of cyclers with them as well. I think they're probably going to be a little disappointed when they find out they have to go down to Westport by the long route, but nevertheless, it'll just be a few more miles for them to ride. But it sounds like a fun event, and so watch for it. I think it'll probably be something more about it in the Oldham area and then on local television news. I'd like to extend the court's sympathy to the family of well-known LaGrange resident Charlie Tice, who passed away here just the last day or two. Charlie is Magistrate Tice's uncle and the father of Jim Tice and father-in-law of Nancy Tice. Certainly a well-known person in the community that he's had a long battle with being in a wheelchair and suffering, but Charlie Tice was always a great guy and will certainly be missed in our community. There will be a memorial service for him on June 30th, I believe, at the Oldham County History Center. So mark that down. One more thing I'd like to mention on a happier note. I have a proclamation here today. I'd like to show everyone that. This proclamation is to recognize the 100th birthday of Vivian Maxine Stewart Dahl, a resident in our community, and we wish her the best. And whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and for a community, which benefits from the knowledge, creativity, and experiences that this individual brings to all. Vivian was born June 8th, 1919. She married Paul Frederick Dahl in 1937, and she spent her entire life in Oldham and Jefferson counties. And An interesting thing about Maxine is that she never learned to drive. So that's kind of getting to be a rarity these days, but I guess it's still out there. So I'm very happy to proclaim June 8th, which is still a few days off, as Vivian Maxine Stewart Dahl Day in Oldham County, and I urge everyone who knows her and has contact with her to extend our deepest congratulations to her, and we'll be extending this, giving her this plaque. She was unable to make it here today because of her age, actually, but nevertheless, best wishes to her. Hearing about someone who didn't learn to drive reminds me of my own grandmother, who told me that the first time she ever saw a car, she and her father were riding in a horse-drawn wagon, and her father got out of the wagon and held the horses while the car putted by, and that was the first time she ever saw a car when she was a young girl. My grandfather, I don't know what his attitude was, but he never did teach her to drive either. And so she did a lot of walking in her day, but she managed to get around anyway. So that was, seeing this lady have never driven a car reminded me of that circumstance as well. It's been another good day at Fiscal Court. I thank everyone for their cooperation and support and energy and enthusiasm for our community. We continue trying to do the best we can to make Oldham County #1 in Kentucky. Is there a motion we adjourn? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.